Vayivarech Elokim es Yom HaShvi, Vayikadesh Oiso HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed the seventh day. Ushmartem es HaShabbos, the Torah commands us to keep the Shabbos. Ki oisi beni uvenechem, it is a sign between me and you, says Hashem, Ladas, Ki ani Hashem mekadishchem, because I am the one who sanctifies you. This will be a sign. Ushmartem es HaShabbos, keep the Shabbos, Ki kodesh hi lochem, it is kodesh, it is holy, and you should treat it as such. Medrash Psikta Zutata, the Medrash says, Omer Abshem Ben Asya, this pasuk shows that the Shabbos adds Kedusha to Am Yisrael. How? Lefi she'ashoyves mi melacha b'yoyim haShabbos, one who rests from doing melacha on Shabbos testifies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. And with that, he sanctifies himself and gets closer to Hashem. But we should wonder, why is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose the Shabbos to testify for the creation of the world? First glance, perhaps it would seem that it would be more appropriate to select the 6 days in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, because on the Shabbos he did nothing, he rested. So what should you symbolize with the Shabbos when he did nothing on that day? And why is it that that day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did nothing in testifies that Hashem created the world? Eliel Lapiano explains, when one looks at creations, he becomes astonished. He's impressed. Put a little kernel of wheat in the ground, you plant it, it rots, and then new life come forth out of it. And many new kernels come into the world as well. Amazing recycling system in nature. And that is how everything in nature is. Water and food, animals and human beings, that before they die, they have children who will yield the future generations, and that obviously shows infinite wisdom which is in the universe. But the proof that someone created this whole universe is, where did it all start from? This kernel of wheat that I'm holding in my hand, he is the son or the grandson of his father, his grandson. And that is how nature is. Wheat produces wheat. An apple yields another apple. Flour brings the same flour. Recycling, nature. But who created the first kernel? Many try to escape dealing with this question, because you can't keep using the same excuse. Well, that is how nature is. Because even if you have explanation to how this kernel in front of us appeared, but what explanation can you provide for the first kernel that brought forth all the other kernels after it? Nature? If that's the case, why doesn't the earth do the same now? Produce wheat without planting wheat? So from this question, many try to avoid, because they will have to answer the real, true, and only answer. There is the one and only, the one who creates, the one who created, rules nature, and does whatever he wants with it. And he can create something out of nothing. The creator of the world, when he said, the Adama, the land, brought forth the first stock of wheat, and all the trees and everything else, all the vegetation, everything that we're familiar with. In the 6 days of creation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed on the karka, on the land, on the aretz, that it should bring out things that grow. And in fact, the land did just that. But after HaKadosh Baruch Hu rested on Shabbos, the land doesn't do that anymore, without having planted something in it, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu's decree, command, has ceased. From now on, only the wheat, which was created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu's command, will put out future wheat. But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not rest on Shabbos, the land would continue to produce plants, vegetation, until today, without having preceded by a plant or a seed in order to sustain human beings. It comes out that if it wasn't for HaKadosh Baruch Hu resting on Shabbos, we wouldn't be able to look at creation and to understand, to conclude from it that there was someone who created it. Because people would claim, this is how nature works. The land brings out wheat. And they wouldn't stop to ask, so who produced who created the first kernel of wheat, because there wouldn't be a first kernel of wheat. Every kernel will be its own creation. We would get used to it. It would look very normal to us. We would take it for granted. We would lose the opportunity to know, just by observing nature, that there is a creator to the world. Only because HaKadosh Baruch Hu rested on Shabbos, you can see clearly that nature is not the source for all vegetation and animals that we're familiar with. It must be that there is someone who created all of it, those that we know and those that we don't. Therefore, specifically the seventh day, that is the sign. Oisi beini uven bnei Yisrael. Kisheishes yomim asa Hashem es hashamayim ve'etz haaretz, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created heaven and earth in 6 days. Uvayoyim hashvi, on the seventh day, Shavas vayinafash, he rested.